to CEO Success. I'm your co-host, Melissa Saunders, along with Patrick Thean, award-winning serial entrepreneur, CEO coach, and a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author. His latest book, The Journey to CEO Success, is a #1 Amazon bestseller and the inspiration for this show. Welcome, Patrick.
Hey, Melissa, good morning. It's great to see you, and it's
You
great to
too.
see our guest, Warren.
Yeah, let me tell you more about him. Today's guest is Warren Johnson, co-founder and CEO of Scribe-X. As a public health nurse and serial entrepreneur, Warren has spent the last 25 years driving innovation to improve quality healthcare and provider efficiency. Under his leadership, Scribe-X has become a national leader in AI-supported US-based medical scribing services, supporting 27 specialties and completing over, get this, 2.7 million patient charts in 2023 alone. Welcome, Warren, to our show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, Warren, it's a treat to have you here today, man. And we're going to kick off by just taking 2 minutes, share about yourself and about your company.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here. I'm hoping that what I have to share has some value to everyone who's decided to join us for this call. I'm a nurse and teacher by background, and I became an entrepreneur back in the late 90s. And I am really passionate about patient care. It's my driving force, and I wanted to start a company that would make a big impact on the providers that care for patients and the patients themselves. And so the company that we have is documenting the visit between the patient and the doctor, doing it really efficiently, saving the provider, the doctor a lot of time, and kind of restoring their quality of life, and also giving them a chance to interact with the patient in a way that is more human, more personal, and more focused. And so in the process of doing that, patients feel fulfilled. The provider is doing this work and really doing the things that makes them joyful. And we benefit from that because we're providing this tremendous experience to young kids, young folks that are wanting to go to medical school. So this
That's
is
fantastic.
Almost like an internship for them, paid internship, and they gain this valuable experience.
So you use the word AI. So your stuff already uses artificial intelligence.
And we embed AI into the process of crafting the note. And
so when did you begin incorporating AI? Because in the last couple of years, of course, with ChatGPT and all this wonderful AI has taken the world by storm. But when did you actually begin with the AI?
Yeah, we started that earlier this year in the spring, and it's still in the process of kind of being rolled out and integrated into all of the different customer sites. But that journey of creating the AI tool, we started in the fall last year.
Okay.
And had a beta product available to test this spring, and we're integrating it now.
So what do your customers like about the AI integration, or share a little bit about the success of that? How's that working?
Yeah, so what it does is it allows the scribe themselves to not spend all their time keying in the information that they see and they hear. It gives them a chance to do these other tasks like putting in orders and managing the inbox, and for the provider, and do the quality measure accounting, basically. And they get to do these things while the AI tool's at work. And once the AI tool is done its job at the end of the visit, they make the edits and changes, put it into the electronic health record. So there's this functional integration that happens, and it just creates a lot of efficiency and opens up some space for the scribe to do more work.
That's great. So the AI is transcribing what it's hearing, correct? That's what it's.
Correct.
That's awesome. I imagine it's also reducing errors significantly. But I love the fact that you said that it opens up the opportunity for the scribe to do, well, these are not your words, but my interpretation is higher quality work, frankly, and to get more work done for a higher quality output, frankly, correct?
Yeah, this embedding,
Yeah,
what we call the hybrid, the combination of a human and the technology together produces a better output. Uh, Left to their own devices, they each make errors,
that's
and those
right.
errors
That's
need to
right.
get
Yeah,
corrected by the doctor.
yeah,
But yeah, the embedding is the secret sauce.
that's awesome.
And I think the time uh, that is freed up for the scribe allows them to play a more integral role in the relationship with the provider, and play more of a role of like prompting the provider to
Yeah,
do various aspects of the visit.
that's awesome. You know, our podcast is really targeted for CEOs, excuse me, to help us all have a more joyful and successful life. However, I got a little bit intrigued by the AI stuff that you just shared, because I get the AI question asked all the time, and I encourage all my friends and listeners to not be afraid of AI, because I get a combination of excitement, of fear, and everything, and I share with them that, look, AI is here whether you like it or not, and it's like when a force comes or a trend arrives that's real, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Because people ask me that question, do you like AI? And I'm like, that's really the wrong question. I think the right question is what you're doing, which is how do you use AI to improve everything, and in a way actually that allows the human actually to have both a better work experience as well as deliver a better customer experience and a better work product. So how do we use it to enhance? Don't get afraid of it. Just go out there and use it, frankly,
Yeah, yeah,
to improve our lives. That's kind of what
yeah,
I share with everybody. So
yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about you though. I'm interested to explore your journey a little bit. How did you become an entrepreneur? Like what happened for you to say, my journey is going to take this entrepreneurial bend and I'm going to start something? How did you do that?
Yeah. I was kind of forced into it a little bit. Um, I had been I had been a surgical ICU nurse and neurotrauma nurse, and I'd been doing nursing. I'd been in healthcare almost 20 years at that point in time. But as I got further along in my nursing career, I developed an allergy, a latex allergy. And back in the late 90s, latex was pretty prevalent, especially in the environments that I worked in: transplant nursing, cardiac recovery, neurotrauma, lots of catheters, lots of gloves, lots of,
Mhm.
wounds and things like that. And so um, that allergy came on, and I was anaphylactic. So I really was
Oh,
put in a position where I could no longer do nursing.
so
And
the allergy came on. You weren't born with it. It just kind of developed.
I have had allergies my whole life. I had lots of anaphylactic allergies to other things, but that was the time when it became a latex allergy. So it kind of grew, like you said.
So you've always carried an EpiPen with you, and
EpiPens and inhalers and all that
yeah.
stuff, right? I was pretty
Have you
sick
had have you actually had to use an EpiPen on yourself before?
multiple times. Yeah, self administered many times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
My daughter is terribly allergic to nuts, and I have
There you go.
had the unfortunate experience of helping her with that, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
scary as hell for me. Forget
scary.
about
Yeah,
her. For me, I was like, my mind
yeah,
went blank when I had to do it for her. Actually, I was like, I know I've
yeah.
been kind of trained, but I realized actually when I had to administer it for her that really wasn't trained. Like I thought I was, but when time came, I just went blank, and she had to say, "Dad, it's right here. Let me do it." I'm like, "No, let me do it. No, let me do it." And it was difficult. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be very scary for sure. I've had two near-death experiences with allergies. One to nuts, one to horses. So very scary time. But yeah, as that allergy developed, I had a decision to make, and fortunately, I had some people who really cared about me and had this vision of who I was. Wasn't the vision I held for myself at all, but they had recommended that I start a nurse staffing company. Two friends, colleagues, two bosses actually, who suggested it as well. And so, in fact, I used to work as an orderly at this hospital in the summers, and that boss had just had a reputation, right? And her name was Anne, and she said, "Hey, Warren, you need to come into my office first thing in the morning." And I'd worked a night shift there as an RN. She closed the door quite abruptly, asked me to sit down, and said, "Warren, I'm really upset." And I'm like, "Why is that?" And she goes, "Well, I don't want to use the agency that hires you to place you at my hospital. I want you to go out and start your own." And I'm like, "Well, how would I do that?" And she goes, "Well, you need to go get a contract from Legacy, one of the hospital systems, and use that contract and take it to hospitals and ask for their business." And sure as heck, that's how kind of how it
Why
started.
did she do that? Why was she was clearly upset with
Yeah.
your employer,
Right.
right?
But
What
she
did
saw,
you remember what your employer did that upset her, that made her say you?
just
Well, two questions really. Two questions. What
Yeah.
upset her, but what attracted her to you to say, "I trust you. Go do this"?
Yeah, great question. I think he had some integrity issues that she was concerned about, and I think she had always kind of seen something in me where taking initiative, really caring about what I did in terms of my job, even when it wasn't like the highest profile job, and she saw that I was a good nurse, and so I don't know exactly, but those were the things that I think really stood out for her. And she saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. I was not a business person. I had been a teacher and a nurse. I managed as a nurse, and done a lot of coaching. But yeah, I'm grateful to her that she gave me a kick in the butt and said, "You got to go do this." And she
Yeah.
kind of gave me a little bit of here's a path to get started. And I followed the path, and it worked well.
Well, congratulations. Now that you've been an entrepreneur and a business owner for so many years, you already know what it is, because you have to recruit, you have to hire. So I'd love to just spend a little bit of time on this. A couple of things to really unpack, which are really powerful. One is you believe that it was, the other company maybe had some integrity issues, and you did a good job. You were meticulous. You cared deeply. So those are the things. At the end of the day, I like to always remind people that we're in a P2P world, a people to people world, and she saw something in you that really met her needs, and she probably saw the way you looked after patients, your deep passion showing. So I think that's critically important, not just for business people, entrepreneurs, but for the workforce. Frankly, I've got two wonderful daughters who are working, and
Mhm.
I share with them that, hey, it's how much you're passionate about the job and stuff. So
Yeah.
important for your journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could not agree more. If I had to pick one thing, it would be passion. Like, follow your passion. Passion sells. Passion gets you up in the morning. Passion invokes other people to want to join you. Passion is essential for that long-term success when you're encountering challenges. It's what gets you over that hurdle to the next challenge, right? And I think I found passion to be my friend for sure. So
It's awesome. It's awesome. So, if I could put you in a time machine
yeah.
and you could go back to yourself when you were starting the company,
hmm
what advice would you give yourself now that you've already been on this journey? What advice would you give yourself to give you a easier, more enjoyable time, frankly?
Yeah. Well, I think the time machine in my book would be go back and make make the health of my family always number one. Um, I think I've been so passionate about work, a lot of long days, weekends, etc. And although I feel like I've given my family that number one place in my life, when the chips are down, I'm always going to be there, right? But that self care, right? The thing that getting up every hour and moving in your chair, carving out time in the morning to work out, the effort I give to my work and my team and my customers,
Yes.
I need to be part of that mix. And I think I'm now at a point where, I would, that might have improved my current health, right? Not that I'm got a bunch of problems or anything, but I think that's really important to take care of yourself.
Yes. That is such good advice. That is such good advice.
I
Awesome.
think the other thing I would say is, as a leader, I think it's so important to delegate, and delegate early. And I think when you do that, make sure you look under the hood to see that those things were done well, done consistently. The empowerment that I'm always trying to give to my team sometimes means that, they're taking on quite a bit of responsibility, and they're doing it fairly early in their career and on their journey. And I love that because people tend to rise, I think, to the challenge. But sometimes they also need to, you need to double check and make sure that those things are done with quality.
I love what you said. You said delegate, but look under the hood. I kind of say, hey, you wanna trust but verify at the same time.
Trust but verify, same idea.
So how do you do that in such a way that it allows the person that you're verifying or looking under the hood to feel that you've delegated that authority and accountability versus micromanaging? Because I think verifying is a kissing cousin to micromanaging. How you do it, I think, is the difference between whether somebody says, hey, why do you keep checking on me? Or, hey, thank you for helping me make sure I got it right. So what's your method or secret to navigating that well?
Yeah, I think you just go shoulder to shoulder with them and say, let's see how that worked, right? You made that sales call. You got them to agree to a meeting. But how did that meeting go? Were you able to really plan the meeting based on what you heard in the previous interaction? And, how did they respond? And is that the response you wanted? And I think it's shoulder to shoulder. It's not top down. What is the way I would approach it?
Yeah. So shoulder to shoulder means you're asking them more questions. You're asking them about their experience versus telling them, hey, you should have done this, you should have done that. Did I interpret that correctly?
Yeah. And often they have the answers right there. They know what feels right. They know where the barriers were. They have an aspiration for how it ought to go, and it's reinforcing that. And there's always going to be gaps, and so it's closing those gaps, trying new things, be quick to try, quick to fail. Same cliche for a lot of people, but
you're a teacher and a doer, and I love that about you. When as you share your background with me earlier, you're a teacher, which tells me that you like coaching people and helping people. So how do you, now that you've done this for so long, how do you, or what do you decide on as far as from a recruiting standpoint? How do you know that somebody is coachable, teachable, and that you would enjoy working with that person when you hire that person?
Yeah. I mean, I think people often reveal their values in conversation, right? What they choose to talk about says a lot. How they respond, in terms of, are they giving you an somewhat in-depth response? Are they doing a cursory response? I think people who are eager to communicate tend to be really more coachable. I always look for what kinds of questions do they ask at the end of the interview or our time together. I think that shows their curiosity. Their questions show their values. Do they care about structure? Do they care about mentorship? Do they care about mostly the pay or whatever? Like everybody has different things they value, and it's the tone of their voice, the way they position their body. If they're leaning in, that tells me a lot versus sitting back. the quality of their voice? Are they coming from a place of strength and vulnerability? Just lots of things. And I think as a PE health teacher, coach, and nurse, right, a big part of what I was always taught to do is be a good observer, and really look at how people are, operating within their space, operating within their sense of self, right?
This podcast, as I said earlier, is about helping people with joy and success and having a successful life. I think you have a lot of joy in what you do. And
Mhm.
I'm curious to know how you've maintained this over all these years. How do you maintain the joyfulness and the, I always say, look, you spend about 70% or more of your waking hours at work. So, for folks who are working in jobs that they don't enjoy or running a business that they don't have passion about, I really feel sorry for them because, that's 70% of your waking hours, which is 70% of your life, frankly. You're spending it with people that you're working with, customers you're serving. And if you're not serving customers, if you're more of a back office person, fine. You're still spending all that time at work with people. So from my perspective, I don't want to. I only want to hire people I enjoy. My formula is, I only want to hire people I enjoy. I only want to serve customers that I really can care for deeply. That way, I don't have to fake anything. That way, when I serve a customer, I can really care about them, like truthfully, and
Yeah,
not
yeah,
fake it, right? So, but what's your formula for that?
yeah. Well, I think again, it's a great question. First of all, I think it comes back to where does that passion sit? Why does it exist? Nearly every mentor that I've ever had has had that passion, that joy, that sense of having it be a calling. It's not a career, right? It's a calling. It's beyond the career, and
Mm,
the calling, in my mind, is a visceral experience that of a sense of reward when you perform it, right? So one of my best mentors ever was Kathy Johnson. She was the chief nursing officer at a big hospital system. And I was hired to come in as a consultant and be part of her executive team. And she would sit us all down, about a dozen of us, and say, I'm not going to be everywhere you guys are, but I want to empower you. And as long as what you do, the decision you make is all based on the quality of patient care, I have your back.
mm,
And
mm,
I've used that as a guide, and she lived it, right? Like we would make, what seemed like bad decisions, but it was for the right reason. We felt it was going to improve patient care, and she would step up and be there. And I think that sense of calling is, I think is a sense of like getting to know yourself and what really makes you tick. I think a lot of businesses, and people who work in businesses think of businesses as transactional,
mm,
and it's how much I bill, how much I pay. It's the math of it, and I think at some point when you achieve a certain level of success, where money is no longer like your needs are covered and you're good, right? It really opens up doors for you to be creative and to dig deeper into that sense of what drives you. And for me, it's always been quality of patient care, the quality of the patient experience. From the time I started in high school as a nurse's aide to today, that is my true north, my North Star, and I am impassioned by it. So, yeah.
You are a very lucky man. I think you know your calling, you know what your passion is. You've been able to connect the dots and allow yourself to work on what is your passion. And I think that's really lucky. Like I think I've met quite a few people that are lucky like you, but I've also met folks because I've met a lot of executives in my journey
I bet, yeah.
that haven't found that. They haven't found that.
Yeah.
And so that's something I encourage my children about. I say, hey, I'd like you to
Mhm.
don't be discouraged. Just figure it out, right? Just take your time and figure it out. What
Mhm.
really drives you? And I think sometimes when people are very talented, they they think it's what they do well. They think, oh, if I'm good at programming, then I should be a coder. I should be a software guy or gal. But that doesn't necessarily mean what you're great at or what you're really good at is what you should be doing. So I'm great at spreadsheets, by the way, and I know numbers really well. But I learned a long time ago that I do not want to be a financial officer. So I might be good at numbers and I might be good at forecasting. I might do all those things, which, by the way, all those things are important as my job as a company leader as well.
Yeah.
But I figured out that that's not my passion. Like, I use the spreadsheets and I use the numbers and I forecast but that's not my passion. And so I think, again, nothing wrong with that job. It's just not my passion. And, you know, my parents, as a good Asian boy, I was encouraged to be a doctor, but not my passion. In fact, when I see the sight of blood, I kind of almost want to faint. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, I can't be a doctor because the minute I see blood, I'm like, whoa. So, but I also know friends that were, you know, really pushed hard by their parents to be doctors just because of where I come from. And I think you're so lucky. And that's a key lesson. That's why I'm kind of resting in this place for a little bit. I think people can really learn from what you just shared about, you know, finding your passion and then building a life and a career and even a company around your passion. I think that is so important.
Yeah. I appreciate your reflection on that. I think the other thing that I'd love to share, if we have time here, is one of my greatest joys and prides. If you ask me, what am I most proud of? One of the things that comes to mind consistently is a lot of the people. I've done many, many companies. I've sold a couple companies, but I've done several companies. And I really like it when we start with a team and that team lives through the whole life cycle of the company and beyond. So my first company, the very first employee that I ever hired to work with me was there when I sold, and there many years after with the acquiring company performing, you know, great big things, right, on a national scale, not just a regional scale. And that was true for many of my team members. And many of them also went on to start work with me in the second company. Same team from the first company went to the second company. And that seeing them grow and really become that best version of themselves.
Yes.
And I think like where I had a lot of fun was I would see where they had those strengths that maybe they weren't even aware of. Like, hey, you're really good at helping build culture and making people feel good in their job. So really want you to play a role in HR. I really want to have you play a role as a department lead or whatever. And I think that has always brought me a ton of joy to see them grow up. In my current company, we've got, I don't know, a handful of team members that have been here, 9-10 years, and the company's 12 years old. And so it's just been a fun part of my journey for sure.
Yes. Congratulations. Stephen Covey talks about how, and this hopefully won't sound morbid, but Stephen Covey, I went through Stephen Covey 7 Habits training years and years ago. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they do in the very beginning is, because one of his 7 habits is beginning with the end in mind, right? So one of the things he does is he wants you to imagine your funeral, because he says that's the true end in mind. And imagine the people who are there, what are they really saying about you, and then designing your life to achieve that end in mind. That was a gift that he gave me, actually, that training gave me, because I didn't think of it that way. But when I thought of it that way, it definitely changed the way I looked at working with people and mm-hmm. people around me. So, you know what? I thank you so much. I feel so grateful that I had a chance to interview you today. So many great lessons about a joyful and successful journey to unpack. But my last question that I ask all my guests is this one. This podcast is to help CEOs, have a joyful and successful life. And what one piece of advice would you like to leave with the audience for them to have a joyful and successful life?
Yeah, I would say that it's really important to continue to challenge yourself to be better every day.
Mm.
And in that journey of self-reflection, centering around what really lights your fire, and being honest with where your struggles are, and having the commitment to improving on those things, I think is a really important part of that secret sauce. And so, um, and don't take yourself too seriously, right? I mean, this is
Yeah.
this life we have, this gift we have. It's supposed to be fun, right? Whether you're in the boardroom, whether you're sitting with your biggest customer, whether you're sitting down with your newest employee, have fun, and so many things go better. So
Thank you, Warren. Thank you.
Wow.
Melissa, back to you.
Yeah, what a great story, Warren. I think our audience is going to really love the story and your journey. So thanks for being here. And until next time, you guys go out there and have fun, enjoy the journey. Bye now.
bye bye. Thank
Bye.
you.